This video is now in session, and Donald Trump is continuing to flout a run for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. And in a campaign rally today, not today, but a few days ago in Alabama, he started airing his list of grievances from the 2020 election, but he also started attacking Biden for his actions in Afghanistan and as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. He said that we needed real leadership. So with that, he seems certainly set on trying to beat Joe Biden. Now, he has not said whether he would run for president in 2024 or not, but if Donald Trump does run in 2024, which increasingly seems like he will do, we're going to look at if Trump can actually win in 2024 now that Biden is embroiled in multiple setbacks, and now that Biden likely will face a 2022 to 2024 Congress where the House is where the House has Speaker McCarthy, or at least a Republican speaker, rather than a Democratic speaker. So for Republicans, this is the elephant in the room for them. A lot of Republicans are campaigning behind the scenes, not quite so publicly, but behind the scenes, with Nikki Haley as well as Ron DeSantis, Kristi Noem, and a few other candidates looking to get the 2024 presidential nomination behind the doors, so that Donald Trump doesn't quite go lash out on them, because 2024 Trump could very well run for the election, but no one knows if he's for certain going to run for the 2024 election. If he does run, he will most likely win the Republican primary. Currently speaking, he is still way outpaced in the other Republican candidates for the presidential nomination. And if you can see right here, the second biggest group besides Trump is other, which means someone outside of the list of candidates shown here. So the reason why Trump is so well able to lead this 2024 nomination is almost the exact same reason he led the 2016 nomination. It's because there's a huge list of other Republicans trying to go for the nomination, just like there was in 2016, and that's by itself is not too much of a problem. In 2020, the Democrats had a huge list of candidates trying to go against Donald Trump. But the reason why this list can become a problem for anti-Trumpers is because if all of these candidates choose not to drop out of the race when it comes to races after Super Tuesday and Super Tuesday itself, then that creates a huge liability for the anti-Trump camp, where they have a split in of the vote among several different candidates, where we saw in the 2016 nomination, a lot of candidates, including Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, John Kasich. These three candidates split their votes among each other, while Donald Trump, the conservative vote, the Tea Party conservative vote, was unified around him. The evangelical vote unified around Trump, while Ted Cruz, John Kasich, and Marco Rubio tried to get the establishment vote. And that led to Donald Trump winning the nomination and winning eventually the presidency. So we can expect the same thing to happen here if Republicans who don't want Trump to win in 2024 don't learn the lessons that they were given in 2016. But if Trump does win the Republican nomination, what chances does he have of winning the presidential election? Well, to be frank, it's not that big of a chance, because even though Biden is messing up on a lot of these issues, ultimately it's very rare for president to win in non-consecutive terms, and usually when a president loses re-election, they become unpopular. They could become relatively unpopular if they try to run again for the next time. There's not many examples of this happening, but we can use one. Theodore Roosevelt ran for 2 terms. He successfully won in both terms, but then he wanted to run for a 3rd term after his successor, William Howard Taft, was relatively unpopular with Roosevelt's progressive policies. So Roosevelt, as a Republican, wanted to run for a third term as a progressive. So he did that, and he lost by a very big margin. And he let the Democrats go loose with that election. So so that wasn't a good thing for the Republican Party and the Progressive Party back then. And if we look at this election, it's likely that Donald Trump would not win in the 2024 elections. It's simple logic. In 2020, more voters went against Trump. And many of those voters simply do not want to elect Trump ever again. They want to move behind. They want to go behind of those kinds of events and go forward with a new person. And that's why they chose Joe Biden. And that's why they'll likely not vote for Trump in 2024. The only reason why they would vote for Trump in 2024 is if Biden does a political suicide throughout his presidency, and Trump is the only alternative. If that happens, then Trump could win, but that's unlikely to happen. Biden knows that for a political suicide to happen, there would be many things that Biden would have to do wrong in order for Trump to get the election. So that's just the first problem when it comes to this election. The other problem, for Trump at least, the other problem is if Biden is going to run or not. Biden said he will run, but it's still unsure. His health could decline between now and 2024, and it's not completely certain. So with that, let's just say Biden doesn't run in 2024. Let's say he drops out. Well, there are a list of candidates who can succeed Biden, but currently speaking, Kamala Harris is on top. This would be a much better scenario for Trump than dealing with Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is more popular than Kamala Harris. But that is not our prediction. Our prediction as of now is not Kamala Harris being the Democratic nominee if Biden doesn't run. If Biden doesn't run, then most likely what we can see is that Buttigieg will win the Democratic primary. And the reason why is because Kamala Harris, as of this point, has not proven that she has been able to govern. She has been assigned the task of voting rights and as well as immigration. And both of those issues, the Biden administration is failing. So with that, a lot of Democrats are having concerns about whether she's able to govern or not. And that's why you see this big dip from July to August. And that's why you see a swing up from July to August for Pete Buttigieg. And Pete Buttigieg could certainly very well win the Democratic nomination. He is a moderate. He is relatively well liked by both moderates and progressives, and as well as the Democratic establishment. And he is also commanding one of the only things that has been going in the right direction for the Biden administration, which is infrastructure. Now, there is a caveat in that the House Democrats are currently stalling the growth for infrastructure with their spat, but Pete Buttigieg does not have any control over that, so ultimately that doesn't affect his popularity rating. So if Pete Buttigieg, which we predict at this point will win the 2024 nomination, if Biden doesn't run, again, this is only August, it's too early, but this is just as of now, then if Pete Buttigieg went against Trump, we would most likely say that Pete Buttigieg would win, just because he has a portfolio of popularity and support as a mayor, as the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and as well as being in the same kind of going in the same kind of direction that Obama did in 2008 for him to win against Trump in 2024. Pete Buttigieg, he has positioned himself very much like Obama, where he started off as an outsider, going in as an insider, and getting support throughout the entire way, and positioning themselves as an inspiration candidate. So that's most likely what Pete Buttigieg is trying to do. And if he doesn't run in 2024, if Joe Biden does run in 2024, he could certainly very well run in 2028. But that's a completely different video. In this video with Trump, if he runs in 2024, it is very likely that Trump would not be able to win in the presidential election, just because he was not able to win in the 2020 election. We've seen this in Senate elections where if a senator who has been knocked out by a challenger tries to run again in the next term, they usually lose that election. An example is Russ Feingold in Wisconsin. He lost in 2010 to Ron Johnson, and then he tried to run again in 2016. He lost again to Ron Johnson. And we can see this across the board in many different senatorial races. That is just one example of many. And that's most likely what we'll see in the 2024 election if Trump does win out the Republican nomination. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.